Welcome. I'm Sharice Taylor, the creator and host of Time Matters on Facebook and the podcast. And today I have a very special guest. My guest is Nefertiti Austin. She is an author and memoirist. And I want to welcome you.
Thank you. And you forgot to mention, and we're childhood friends.
We are childhood friends, and we won't say how many years because it's over 20.
Yeah.
So I invited you because I speak a lot about time matters and interest for students as they prepare for their life after high school. And as an author, I just want to read a little bit about what you've done. You write about the erasure of diverse voices in motherhood in your bestseller, Motherhood So White, a memoir of race, gender, and parenting in America. And your work has been around this topic and has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, modernmia.com, Gen Medium, and many other publications. And you've also appeared on numerous shows and podcasts and radio programs, including the Today Show, 1A with Joshua Johnson, and NPR. You are a proud adoptive mother of 2 children, and you live in Los Angeles, my favorite city. So is there anything else that you can share about yourself and your background before we get started?
Well, I didn't start off writing nonfiction. So my background is fiction and had no desire, no dreams of writing nonfiction necessarily. So the nonfiction writing really came about very organically. So I would say that, and then I'm sure in your questions we'll get into the meat of it.
Excellent. So I want to first ask you about what you dreamt about as a young girl. You know, we all dream about different things, and what was your dream?
Let's see. I dreamt about like lots of things. You know, I wanted to be a pediatrician. I remember my kids found my diary from like the 5th grade, and they think it's so funny to read it. And so they reminded me that I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then from there, I wanted to be a writer and a lawyer. And so those two things really occupied a lot of space for many years. Those were the two things. I'm gonna be a writer, I'm gonna be a lawyer, get married, have a whole bunch of kids, and I had this all mapped out in my mind. And then went to college, went to law school for a year, figured out like this ain't it. And but I had been writing throughout, and so that was the one, I guess, dream that has stayed with me, and it's the one that I continue to live out. I'm fortunate to be able to live that out.
Great. And so with that skill and love of writing, what led you to this topic in particular?
I was really led there looking for information. So like I love to read. I don't get to read as much as I don't get to read books the way I used to, but I, love to read, love information. I was really ready to become a mother and, again, dream, wanting to be married, but I really wanted to adopt. And so that was more important to me than being married. So motherhood, like really just kind of took over everything for me. And so I made this decision. Okay, I'm ready to become a mother. I really, really want to adopt. And then I thought, oh, well, let me see how other people have done it. How have other single Black women made a decision, gone to their family and said, hey, I'm getting ready to break all the rules here and I'm going to adopt, and I'm going to go against everything I ever said about, starting my own family. What does that look like? How did she do that? Was it a fallout? What were the steps? And I couldn't find anything. And this was the height of the mommy wars, and there were so many books out, super popular. It was like Slacker Mom and Tiger Mom and all these books that were super popular. And I thought, surely I will see myself on the page, and I did not. So there would be anecdotes here and there about Black mothers, but there wasn't anything that spoke to myself, my experience, or even the experiences of my friends who had gone the traditional route, who had gotten married and started their families that way. And so I began writing, really ranting at the outset, because I also realized how racist the adoption community is, because so much support and attention is given to white people who adopt children of
Hmm.
color. So once again, I was like, wow, I'm erased here, and then I, go look someplace else, and I'm erased there. And so that was really the beginning of me writing, seeking diversity within motherhood, and writing about not being able to find it.
So in all of that experience, you took something, you found a need, and you decided to find a solution to that and to share that experience. And so can you define memoirist, so that to make sure that people understand what you mean by that, what is meant by that term?
Right. So basically, a memoir is really sort of zeroing in on maybe one event in your life or one thing. So an autobiography really covers a person's entire life, and maybe there's not one specific thing or theme that is focused upon. And
Hmm.
so in a memoir, I mean, while you get like my early childhood and that sort of thing, but truly the focus of the book is the adoption, why I adopted, and then the actual process and what it means to be not just an adoptive mother, but what it means to be a Black mother in
Hmm.
America. So I'm focusing on one particular aspect of my life. So that's pretty much the difference.
Okay, now think back on your college days. Um, and because you did like to write and you do like to write, during those days, did you join any clubs? Were you a part of any organizations that helped foster that interest and other interests?
Well, I did join my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, of course, and we are sorors.
Yes.
But beyond that, no, and largely because when I was a freshman, I remember going to speak to a counselor, telling him, "Oh, I want to be a writer, and I'm thinking about majoring in English." But I took those classes; they were very Eurocentric, very boring. So I said, "I think I'd like to major in creative writing." And his response, which was excellent, was, "Don't do that." He's like, "You're 18 and you don't have a style yet. You're still like
Mm.
becoming. And if you major in creative writing at this moment, it may take away from however you are going to develop." And that was good advice, because those classes, I think for a younger person, those classes can be relatively prescriptive, as opposed to just kind of allowing the writer just to kind of evolve.
Hmm.
And in those years, I don't know what it's like now. I'm a graduate of UCLA. The creative writing department in those years, it was also very Eurocentric. And so being a Black woman and learning myself and, my whole intersection, in the world, and where and when
Right.
I enter all that good stuff at 18, that was the right time to do that. Now, I didn't get an MFA. I have friends who did go that route, and that was really wonderful for them. And
Mhm.
so I'm pretty much a self-taught writer. And so, but that was really great advice for me. So no, I didn't join the paper, and that's journalism. That's different writing. And I didn't join any creative thing because I was still trying to figure it out. I was still talking about, yeah, I want to go to law school. I want to go to law school, but I still wanted to write, but I wasn't sure how to put all that together. So
So I think what you've said is important, because a lot of times students don't know what they want to do anyway. And in seeking advice, that advisor told you something that you probably didn't want to hear at the time, but that you did listen to because of the experience that advisor had. And so I think it's important for students to understand that you do have to seek advice, look for a mentor, and at the same time, figure out what your voice is and find your path. So that is excellent information for students. So at this stage, and all that you've done, how would you define success?
I would define success as something that brings you satisfaction and brings you joy. There are different levels of success, I guess. And I think for me, success has been having the platform to express how I feel. I mean, I wrote for years for free. I wrote for years when I didn't get published. I mean, so for me, the success was just always in the writing, whether or not anybody read it. I mean, that's just icing on the cake.
Mhm.
I'm obviously pretty easy to please. So, um, but I think let's take the publication of Motherhood So White. So the success was finding an agent who believed in the project, who found a publishing house who said, "Oh yes, voices of Black mothers are important." So the success was winning over an industry that said, "Your experience is too marginal. No one's going to buy it. No one is going to be interested in a story about a Black woman who becomes a mom because
Mhm.
your community is marginal in pop culture." And so the success was ability to find people who said, "No, we disagree with that. It is not only is it important, but we're going to put money and resources behind it to get it out into the world." So
Mhm.
that definitely has been a success, especially in the last 9 or 10 months, because of the murders of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. So many of our stories get way more attention than they would have, if it had
Right.
been non-COVID and no one got, was stuck at home watching television. And so that's been the success.
Mhm. Thank you. And so, two more points. If you can share pearls of wisdom for students and their families, from the lens of interest in writing and being an author, and how to spend their time wisely.
Okay.
Um, any pearls of wisdom that you can offer?
Well, to parents, to fellow parents, I would say if you have a child who is artistic, whatever their art may be, I think it's important to support them, because I can tell you that when you are an artist, a writer, singer, dancer, whatever the case may be, it's very difficult to suppress that. And so even when you do your best to push it down and you pursue a traditional path, you become a lawyer or a teacher, or you go into corporate America, what have you, the desire that and the skill, it doesn't go away. It stays with you.
Mhm.
And so I think rather than be afraid of the unknown, because it is an unknown situation, I think it's better to educate yourself about the field your child is interested in and support them, help them chart out a path to success. And success is going to look different for every single person. And so I think it's also important to talk about what success means and what it looks like, and to understand there's no such thing as an overnight success. I mean, you take Amanda Gorman, she's a wonderful, beautiful poet, but she didn't start writing 3 weeks ago. She's written for
Right,
years.
right.
So, what does success mean? What will it look like? And then how can you support your child in his or her endeavors? Because what they also may discover is, I like this, but this is a lot of work for a little bit of glory and a little bit of money. I don't really want to do this. So give
Mhm.
them a chance to find out whether or not it's for them. And for the budding writer, or singer, dancer, what have you, a writer does two things: they read and they write. So you can't call yourself a writer and you don't write, or you don't read books. And I would suggest that if there are workshops that a local college offers, or if there are book fairs or anything like that, go to the workshops. And that's another chance to really figure out, is this what you think it is? Because it might not be what you
Mhm.
think it is, but you got to give it a chance. And so you have a lot of folks who talk, "Oh, I want to do this, or I'm going to do that," and they don't do anything. So I say go for it. If you're in college, finish college, because you want to have a baseline. You want to be able to support yourself. Certainly graduate from high school. It won't hurt to have a college degree. It only helps. I mean, it really, it truly only helps to get a college degree. And I think that you can have it all, but you have it all at different times. So. That's my 2 cents.
Excellent. I love it. We have had a wonderful conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. If there's anything else that you would like to talk about that we did not discuss, please share that now, and also share where we can get your book.
Okay, so my book is available everywhere. And actually, for the month of February, it's on sale. So if you have any Kindle readers out there, it's on sale. And support your local independent stores, Black bookstores, Barnes and Noble. It's everywhere. So that's exciting. And the only other thing I'd like to share is just that, for the artist in the room, you also have to have a tremendous amount of faith in what you are doing. And if it is your desire to pursue the arts, then, definitely create a plan and make sure it's flexible, because life will throw you curves, but,
Mhm.
be ready to the best of your ability.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I always end my conversations with remember, how you spend your time matters. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. Thank you so much.